Hey, Mike,
Ah,
good news or bad news?
bad news.
The bad news is it's not your team. The good news is one of our teams didn't lose last week.
Yeah, that's correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
guess who
It
that
was your
is?
team, man. Your team did
Hey,
not lose
Mike,
last
good
week.
news or bad news?
Good news.
Good news is one of our teams has beaten the Packers this year. The bad news is it's not your team. Yeah.
All
All
right,
right. I went a long way for that, didn't I?
you did. You went from
All right, here
Sonoma
we
to
go.
Napa.
Yeah, what is up, party people? It's me, Brendan Booth at Big Boned FFB on Twitter. I'm here as every week with my other guy, Mike Greinberg at FF Canuck 99. It's week 14. We're watching the Steelers shit the bed. Wishing Pat Fryermuth would come out and have a better day. Um, I do want to say an actual congratulations. I've been waiting weeks to revisit this and get it right this time. But Mike Evans, 10,000 yard seasons in a row. He just solidified that this last week. And it's time for Big Boned's Whiskey Minute. Tonight, we are drinking Junipero gin. Get it? Because gin is made with juniper. So you might be thinking, hey, Brennan, if it's a Big Boned's Whiskey Minute, what does that have to do with gin? Well, I'll tell you. In the distillation process, a mash is fermented and turned into alcohol. I'm actually legitimately having camera problems now. And in the, geez, I'm blurry, and I haven't even had a drink yet. Anyway, so when they're distilling the liquor for gin, they let the distillate vapors go up through the botanicals that give it flavor. If they didn't do that, then they take that and they put it into a barrel, and that becomes whiskey. But it all starts as vodka. So does beer. All right. So Junipero gin is a heavily juniper gin, if you couldn't tell, uh, from the Bay Area, San Francisco. This is the drink that I had. I had a Junipero martini at the Scott Fishbowl live draft, and it was delicious. Just a no vermouth, add an orange slice or orange twist, and it's delicious. All right. While I get my camera stuff worked out, let's have Mike with the news.
What's up, folks? Welcome into week 14. Jeez Louise, I cannot believe that we are in week 14 already. We have two really big games this week. There are a lot of big games, but two in particular. Let's talk about Philly Dallas. Like, I know everybody's talking about it. In reality, we know the 49ers are the kings of the NFC, but we'll see what happens going forward here. Like it should be a close contest in this between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully Brandon is back with us now, and I stalled long enough to get your opinion on what the Dallas Philly game looks like this week.
I don't want to watch it.
Why?
I hate Dallas. Um, no, it's gonna be a shootout, and hopefully Philly can represent themselves a little bit better than they did last week against the 49ers when they absolutely got gobsmacked. Uh, Dallas is hot right now. Dak is on fire, and making me regret trading away CD Lamb.
Incredible.
But, I don't have to watch the Cowboys.
And it's unlike you know what? I've seen some stuff back and forth. Like the Cowboys did play Philly hard in Philadelphia, and with the way Philly's been playing since that game, it's tough to judge. They had a tight one in Kansas City last week. They had another tight one. And we'll see what happens. Like, I mean, they got shit kicked last week against the 49ers, and Jalen Hurts doesn't usually lose 2 games in a row. So we'll see what happens there. But I mean, like I said before, like the 49ers just look like they are in another level. They beat Dallas, completely destroyed them. They completely destroyed Philadelphia. Brock Purdy looks like he's playing MVP level right now. As much as people say he's a systematic quarterback with the weapons he has, you still have to execute, and he's playing lights out. I mean,
yeah, they're a juggernaut. And the thing about the Philly Dallas game is that hopefully you didn't want hard hitting analysis, because that's not what I'm here for. No, it's going to be a fun game to watch, but ultimately I don't think it's going to matter much. It's not going to, whoever wins or loses, it's not going to affect the record so much that it's going to change anything in the playoffs. I don't think either of them can beat San Francisco in the playoffs, so the seeding won't matter. They're both going to win their divisions. They can't both win the division because they're in the Philly should win the division. Dallas should get the wild card. Philly should have a home game, maybe against Dallas. So all of those dynamics that normally would be like interesting and coming into week 14, like, oh, how is the playoff seeding going to be affected and all that stuff. I don't think it's going to matter, just because San Francisco is so freaking good.
They are good, and they look like the class of the NFL right now. Honestly, I mean, with the way they're playing, I'm not sure any team right now is positioned to beat them, and that is including the AFC leading Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have seen their vulnerabilities too. They've lost some games to some teams that they shouldn't have, and I just think that the same could be said for San Francisco, but they just look like they've got it set up right now that they are the contender.
I think that the Raiders could beat them, but no, San Francisco. I'm reminded of one thing, and it's this old adage in football that the wins in December are the most important. And if you watch Hard Knocks, and the in season with Miami is so good just because Mike McDaniel is such a great personality, I would love playing for him or doing anything with him as, like a supervisor, like a manager or a head coach, whatever. He's just such a good dude and reminds me a lot of my coaching style, coaching baseball and youth sports and stuff like that. Just a good teacher, a good motivator, doesn't take himself too seriously. He looks fun. So you have to win in December. Miami had some struggles early on or middle on, and so did the 49ers. But both those teams seem to have righted their ships, and both teams are starting to just buzzsaw the shit out of people. And I think that they're both on a trajectory to meet it in the Super Bowl. I think when you have the injuries to the linebacking core like Miami has had and are good enough to overcome that, I think they're in a really good spot, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of contention from the rest of the AFC moving forward.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Like there's a couple teams in the AFC like Baltimore that I'm circling there too. And you can't count these guys out either because they have the best player in the league playing for them, and they might be just saving some stuff for this stretch here,
Yeah, so, nobody's been better in December than Kansas City. So
yeah, and we'll see. They got Nick Bolton coming back now. I mean, their secondary just took a couple big losses there, and they're with their safety going down this week, but we'll see. I mean, the Chiefs are fighters, and you can't count them out in December. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, okay, let's steam through these injuries because we got a lot to get through, and there's a lot of injuries that we got to talk about. Really, we'll steam through like Kenny Pickett and Ramondre Stevenson because we know they're both out in this game. Pickett's ankle, he underwent surgery on Monday. He will be missing multiple weeks. We've seen what Trubisky has done tonight, and it's not looking good. Ramondre Stevenson, on the other hand, he has got a high ankle sprain. He will miss multiple weeks. Does not look good for anything in fantasy football moving forward. And looks like Zeke is coming on strong here. Doesn't look super efficient, but he's getting those opportunities. So he could end up being a guy that is a league winner, if I say that.
Yeah.
Like some people are whispering that already. And what do you think about that?
I've held on to him in a best ball charity league for the whole season, and it's finally paying off.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there's some really bad news here for the Jaguars. They lost both Christian Kirk and Trevor Lawrence on Sunday to injury. Christian Kirk looks like he's done for the year, at least for fantasy football purposes. If the Jaguars do make it to the Super Bowl, he has a chance of getting into that game, but he had a groin injury, suffered on the first play of the Week 13 game versus the Bengals. I bet Kurt woke up with bigger balls than you did on Monday morning, Brendan.
That's impossible.
Trevor Lawrence. Sorry. Trevor Lawrence with his high ankle sprain. He actually looked like he was getting some mobility around in the practice area today. So I'd assume he missed this week, but it looks like he's week to week. Apparently the yoga he's doing has caused him to have a more limber body and, sustain these injuries a little bit better. So with the previous injury that he's had, apparently has helped ease the pressure of this one. So we might actually see him sooner than later, which is really, really good news because the Jaguars still are in the thick of that. They still hold the division lead. And if they can hold off a game or two, they still have a shot at winning that division.
Namaste, sunshine. That's Trevor's nickname. I did a podcast in England this week. I wasn't in England for it. It was recorded by some British people. And, the Jaguars are England's team. And I was able to share with them my thoughts. And I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to play this week. So, yeah. We talked about ankle sprains before and how I sprained my ankle in a critical playoff game. And I hobbled off the field and I took my cleat off and I wrapped it in tape as hard as I could and got back out there and played the last 8 innings of the game. You can do that. As long as there's not a whole lot of structural damage, get out there for your boys.
And he's not really a scrambling quarterback anyway, so he's not relying on his mobility to really get him those extra yards. Yes, he can prove to get that extra, yard if he needs to, but he's more of a pocket passer, and that's exactly what we're looking at. So yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities him playing this week. Absolutely.
As long as he can keep his base stable and get good push, he'll be okay.
Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers, his hammy again. I don't know that after a big performance last week, it just looked like these Packers this young team is really starting to catch their string, and unfortunately, Christian Watson is losing his hamstring again, and looks like he might be sidelined again this week.
It's almost as if Christian Watson is an unreliable performer in fantasy football and will have big spike weeks and then deal with a lot of disappearing and injuries. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Who could have seen that coming?
Did you see that coming?
Absolutely. I have 0 Christian Watson shares across the board. My buddy and I were driving to our rehearsal one night for our sketch troupe, and he was like, is there anybody in the NFL that you don't have? And I was like, yeah, there are a few people. Christian Watson is one of them. I don't own him anywhere. Dak Prescott, it's hard having so many teams and not, rostering everybody. but it's also real easy to fall into like your patterns and own the same people across 20 different teams.
Yeah.
And I avoided Christian Watson like the plague. So
Well, I avoided wide receivers like the plague in the fishbowl. And he was, I think, the second one I picked off the board, and I didn't start him all year. I started him in spots, and he didn't really do anything for me. And then he was on my bench last week, in the only time I actually could have probably used him. So,
who was your second wide receiver that you took?
I'm not sure. It was
Mine was Mike
probably,
Evans,
yeah, that's a decent call, I'd say.
14th round.
That's awesome.
My
I
first,
picked up Puka Nakua in the 19th. I think that was pretty good.
that's a good one too. My first one was Treylon Burks. How's that working out for me?
Oh
That
well,
was 2 days before the DeAndre Hopkins trade
yeah.
or signing, whatever. So Treylon looked like he was going to have, a big second year. And then I took Treylon. I waited until the 10th or 11th round to pick a receiver, and I went Treylon, Mike Evans, and Nico Collins, like bang, bang, bang. And two of them were great picks.
Well, a player that knocked out a lot of guys last week in the Scott Fish Bowl and will continue to knock out guys this week, and that is Tank Dell of the Houston Texans. After an incredible start to his rookie campaign, Dell's storybook season will end shy of the fairy tale ending. The Texans wide receiver fractured his fibula and had surgery on it on Monday. Looking like Dell could be back for the Texans if they make a deep playoff run. Probably not, though. Looking like a 6 to 8 week recovery time. He is done for the year.
Yep,
Unfortunately,
but the Texans
heartbreaker.
are not. Texans are coming on. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have a big win this week. They're going to beat the spread against the Jets, and they're going to do good. Go
Yeah,
CJ and Nico. Woo!
yeah, and Noah Brown is a kind of a sleeper now too.
And Brevin Jordan, baby.
Yeah, another one there. Sleeper alert. So Amari Cooper entered concussion protocol. I doubt he plays this week. 30% of players don't play, or it's even less than that. So I'd say he doesn't play this week. So look for other options there. Brian Robinson is on a bye, but he suffered a hamstring injury, so he might miss a couple of weeks due to that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So look for maybe Antonio Gibson on the waiver wire if you haven't picked them up already, because they've already ran this week. But see what happens there in Washington. Marquise Brown re-injured his heel on Sunday and was able to finish the game. Who cares at this point? I don't know. He's a lost case at this point. When your tight end is out targeting you and your wide receiver 2 is out targeting you, you got a lot of worries there. I think that
Hollywood wrong.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, more like Bollywood. I don't know.
Bollywood, right?
Hollywood. Anyhow, he's been garbage this year. So at this stage, I'm loving the Trey McBride targets, and hopefully after the bye, I'm still in the fishbowl for him to propel me to some
one more week, please. Just one more week.
Exactly. Jefferson looks like he's back this week,
Woo!
which is great for everybody talking.
Jay Jetta season.
He's hoping to still hit his 1,000 yards this year, which is actually a possibility when you think about it. He's about 480 yards off, I think it is. So should be able to hit that. And, that's still the gold standard for him. So good on you, Jetsetta, and hopefully propelled some of my fantasy teams. Yeah. Like if you have Jefferson still and you're alive, you know what I mean? Like, good on you. And if he comes back and you can make a deep playoff run, that's even better. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
Dallas Goedert looking to return. I think the Philadelphia Eagles need another option there this week. And, he's been missing from their offense in the last little while. They're just not the same. They're relying a lot on Hollywood Brown. Devonta Smith has been good, but I think getting Goddard in there would really add another dimension to that offense. So hopefully he comes back this week against the Cowboys.
They always have Alex O.
They do, and you need him, don't you? Don't you have him in one of your leagues, right?
He's in the Mirror League best. It's a lost cause.
It don't matter. All right, Brandon, let's talk about our Studley and Dudleys.
Studleys. It's time for Studleys. It's a little segment theme that I just wrote. All right. My Studley. And I'm going to take huge credit for this one. But not without shouting out my boy at Bo McBigtime, Bo McBrayer, who in his article last week called Jake Browning a top 10 quarterback. On this show, in this space, I said start Jake Browning, and he wound up as QB4. What a call by me! Such a stud. That's it.
That's it. All right, you are a stud, man. you are a stud.
Folsom legend Jake Browning is my Studley call.
I Studley called a couple here. I Studley called sitting Drake London. The guy had one catch for 8 yards, so hopefully you listened to me if you had him in your lineup because he shit the bed. Also, Miles Sanders, he had 8 rushes for 23 yards and 1 reception for 6. So both those calls I'll take full credit for, but I will also take full credit for my Dudley call, and that was sitting Christian Watson. I told you to sit him versus the Chiefs, and he had his best game of the year, of course, going 7 for 71 and 2 touchdowns. The Packers simply outplayed the Chiefs that week, and Christian Watson was a direct benefit of that. So, sorry.
Now, I'm not coming at you from the Fantasy Burn Studios. I'm in an undisclosed location. So normally you would see my Hunter Pence gnome behind me, but I want to start calling the Dudleys the Hunter Pence Memorial Dudley call because good process. Wait, no, bad process. Good. Never mind. Hunter Pence was bad process, good results. Good process, bad results. That's not Hunter Pence. He was the opposite. He's bad process, good results. My Dudley call was terrible process. I had zero business telling anybody that Juwan Johnson should have been my big ball call of the week, but I did it. He had none points on none catches, and he even had a negative catch in which a ball bounced off his hands and into the arms of a defender, creating an interception for Derek Carr because his hands were covered in butter or olive oil. I don't even know. Like, come on. It was the table was set for such a huge day, and he is the one that fucked it all up. So that's my Dudley call, and also my other Dudley call, because if you can cheat, so can I. That's my gig. I'm the cheater, so I'm going to take 2. Me for not hitting the Dudleys button soon enough, but now we're in it.
So would you say that your balls shrunk 3 sizes that day?
No.
And Christian Kirk's grew 3 sizes that day?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Right. I'm an older man. They're getting bigger by the day. Lower. All right. Are we on to the starts?
Let's do it.
Let's get out of there. And we'll move to this one. All right. Starts and sits. Hey, everybody. We're going to give you some names, and those names are going to help you win your first playoff week, or secure a playoff spot, vault yourself from the number 9 to the number 8 and get into the playoffs.
Number 9.
And let's do this because this shit isn't working. All right. I hate this Google Docs for notes. All right. So my first start is going to be AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon. the Packers play the Giants and they have a lot to prove. They're in their playoff chase, and they're smoking hot right now. Giants are the second best matchup for running backs this season. They allow 25 rushing yards per game, more than the average amount of rushing yards per game that all the other teams are giving up. That's a lot more yards than the average, and they're fifth in points per game allowed to opposing running backs in fantasy scoring. So that's a recipe for a good day for I.A. Dillon. Jordan Love is going to keep the defense on its heels. He's throwing dots right now, and the Packers will control the game. It's going to be a heavy run game script. So look for A.J. Dillon to have a really good finish in fantasy football this week.
Yeah, man. I think A.J. Dillon, he showed what he was about. He was the one that led the Packers, in my opinion, to the win last week. Just being able to get those extra yards when they needed it, to run the clock down, extend those drives. It'll be more of the same this week, and A.J. Dillon's going to run the clock down in a run-heavy script. So, yeah, I totally love that call, man. And,
Thank you.
My next call is another Brandon that knows how to cook as well. So, it's Brandon
see
Cooks,
what you did.
who's been on fire the past 4 games. Since week 10, Cooks is the wide receiver 8 in PPR formats. The Eagles will have their hands full trying to slow down CeeDee Lamb, who torched them for 11 for 191 in week 9. The Eagles are ranked 30th versus the pass, giving up an average of 260 yards per game. The Cowboys will want to make a statement at home after their week 9 loss versus the Eagles in Philly. Cooks will continue his late season surgeons and will finish as week 14 as a top 20 wide receiver. That's a bold call.
I'm going to start cooking, and then it'll be Brendan Cooks. Every time I see Brandon Cooks, I always think, whatever happened to Michael Gallup?
He ain't cooking.
They put him out to pasture.
Mm.
Yeah, Gallup. All right. My next start is a big one. It's hard for me to say this, but I'm going to do it because I'm dangerous. Mr. Worldwide is my next start. I don't have a lot of crack analysis on this one. The Broncos are playing the Chargers this week. The Chargers suck. So, Cortland Sutton, get on out there, and Jerry Jeudy maybe have a game. And, Marvin Mims is also a player in football. And Dangerous is going to have a big, big game. So let's ride.
Let's ride with Dangerous. You know who sang that song great is Roxette.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Look sharp, baby.
Yeah, man. All right. So my second start is Zach Moss versus the Bengals. In Moss's first game back in the lead role, he rushed 21 times for 57 yards versus a tough Titans defense. Not a great day, but he got plenty of opportunity and should see similar usage this week when he faces the Bengals, who definitely aren't the Titans when they come to stop in the run. The Bengals rank 31st in the league versus the run, giving up a whopping 140 yards per game. Moss should eat this week in a set it and forget it role. Boom.
I thought they were the Titans. I thought they just... Oh, okay. You learn something new every day. Zach Moss is he's a smash this week. And I have a buddy who played him over Zeke. And so let's hope for Tate's sake that that works out for him.
Yeah, right. I mean, both are good calls, really.
Oh. Somebody vacuuming?
Apparently.
That's a great time to run the vacuum. Awesome. All right. My next start is going to be a surprise for anybody who who knows me, who follows the program. More surprising than dangerous. If you've been listening the past couple weeks, I have had this ongoing love-hate relationship with the Texans backfield, in that I keep missing. A week early, I said sit Devin Singletary, and then he had a big game because Dameon Pierce was coming back, and Dameon Pierce came back and didn't do anything, and Singletary did. And then I said, hey, go ahead and start Singletary because he looks like he won the job. And then Dameon Pierce out-touched him by doubling his number of rushes. And so now Dameon Pierce shows every indication that he's the back to have in Houston. So third time's a charm, right? Forget what I said last week about forgetting what I said the week before, because I was correct the week before, just a week early, like I usually am, and start Dameon Pierce and shut up.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, you're probably going to be right this week because you have been, just a little bit off. So I think this is the week it's going to come through. And I hope so too, because I need him in a couple of leagues to, give me some flex value, at least with my.
Would have liked to have had him playing well the last month, but that didn't work out for me.
Yeah. All right. And my last start is one of my own. I have Rashee Rice versus the Bills. The Bills' pass defense has been pretty good, ranking 8th in the league, only giving up 203 yards per game on average. These numbers look good on surface. However, the Bills' defense have given up 16 passing touchdowns this year, a big vulnerability that the Chiefs should be able to expose at home at Arrowhead. I'm looking for Rashee Rice to have a big game this week. Since the bye, Rice is averaging 8 receptions per game, and the Chiefs are finally using him the right way. Playing back-to-back games with almost 70% snap share, his 28.3% target share in the past 2 games is amongst the league's elite. Look for Rice to score a touchdown this week, but also continue to command a large target share in this one. Rice should finish as a top 20 wide receiver this week. Once again, we are not starting any other Chiefs wideout.
That's a bold call, because you heard me last week. You were right here with me when I said there are no start situations in Kansas City. But, I like your process. You justified it really, really good.
Hopefully I'll justify that with my Studley call next week.
Yeah, and hopefully Patrick Mahomes can throw better than Cameron Hayward. Or whoever that, not Cameron Hayward, the other Hayward. The Hayward brother.
The Hayward brother. All right, sit time. Who we going?
What happened to the sits? The sits are gone. They disappeared. What happened? Okay. Producer, can you get on that? Oh wait, it's just me. All right, my first sit is going to disappear from my notes. But I remember who it was. It's the Seahawks running back room. All right. Kenneth Walker, if he's playing, sit him. Zach Charbonnet, if he's playing, sit him. DJ Dallas, I don't even know if he's still in Seattle. Sit him too. The 49ers aren't fucking around, y'all. They are Buster Posey. Now, I say that because back in Buster Posey times, there was a runner who was attempting to steal second base against Buster Posey, and he popped up and he shot him down, and then as he turns around, you see his lips move, and he says, "I ain't having it." So from there on, it became a meme amongst my online Giants fan brethren that Buster Posey ain't having it, and the 49ers ain't having it. They are Buster Posey.
All right. Good analogy. I like it. So
shout out to McCovey Chronicles. We are all Albert Pujols.
All right. Well, my first sit is the shocker. It's DeAndre Swift versus the Cowboys. Through 12 weeks, Swift is the RB12 in PPR formats. After a tough matchup versus the 49ers, in which Swift had one of his worst games of the season, he ran 6 times for only 13 yards. Philly now gets to play a pissed off Cowboys team with a sour taste in their mouth from the last time these two teams met. The Cowboys ranked 12th in the league, giving up 106 on the ground. Swift had one of his worst showings at home versus the Cowboys in Philly in a game that Philly controlled. I'm looking for Swift to have a tough night on Sunday. Temper your expectations this week when putting Swift in your lineups.
I agree. Where I have Swift, I have to play him, but my expectations will definitely be tempered.
Good. I'm glad you agreed with that. I remember writing that like on the weekend, and then I remember reading that again today, and I'm like, that's a bold one for me. Okay, I'm glad you're on the same page. Yeah,
the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're stout.
The Cowboys are also Buster Posey. Yeah. All right, my next set is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars decision at quarterback. If it's Trevor Lawrence, remember, he's hobbled. If it's Beat Hard, CJ Beat Hard, he gets beat hard. And guess who they're playing? They're playing the Browns. And the Browns are also Buster Posey. They ain't having it.
Fair enough.
Hard-hitting analysis. In-depth discussion. That's why you come to me.
Exactly. All right, man. So my next sit is Adam Thielen versus the Saints. The last time Adam Thielen, I told you to sit him, he bit me in the butt. So hopefully he doesn't do that this week.
Ouch.
I know. I'm still hurting. Like I'm not sitting proper on that one cheek, but it'll heal.
Get a hemorrhoid pillow.
Okay. Have to look into those. After producing top 10 numbers at wide receiver position through 8 games, Thielen has been bad as of late, in the past 2 especially. Thielen has produced just 4 receptions for 27 yards combined over these 2 games. When the Panthers wide receivers face off against the Saints secondary earlier this season, they were bad, and I see that being the case again this week in week 14. Jonathan Mingo has also come on strong lately and has taken control of the number 1 target in the already bad passing offense. Thielen is one bad game away about being talked about, being regulated to the waiver wire. So this week, I don't expect much out of him either.
No, I'm actually looking for Carolina to sneak out a win, though. And that leads me to my sit, my last one. And this brings a tear to my eye. I love you, Chris. Chris Olave is a sit for me this week, and I'll tell you why. The Saints are playing the Panthers, as you just alluded to. That's bad news for Saints wide receivers. Chris Olave is the number 1 target in New Orleans, and that's bad news for Chris Olave. On top of that, you have Derek Carr, who was injured more times in last week's game. He suffered more injuries in last week's game than he has in his entire career. He has been banged up so hard this year behind that atrocious New Orleans Saints offensive line. Kamara is going to have his day, just like I said last week, but he's not a start and sit option because he's, he does Kamara things. But whether it's Jameis Winston or Derek Carr throwing to Olave, he's going to get locked down. If it's Jameis Winston, Chris Olave succeeds a lot in the mid-range game, and Jameis Winston is not a very good mid-range passer. He's a good deep ball guy, and he's good for 2 or 3 interceptions a game. He's a big play machine when his receivers catch the ball and it's not straight to the opposing defense. But I don't see Olave being able to have much success against those Panthers.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to question you on the Winston call there, but you explained it pretty good to me, with those intermediate routes, because I was wondering, like, Winston tends to really like to target Olave since I've seen him play with those two together. But like, yeah, you explained it well, where Olave is really good at, the Panthers are really good at stopping. So yeah, I think that's a really good analysis and well thought out plan. So hopefully that works out for you, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. So Matthew Stafford versus the Ravens is my last sit. He is still battling through an injury. Cooper Kupp is banged up. So is Puka Nakua. With his weapons most likely available, I'm not expecting him to be very efficient. Stafford faces a great Ravens defense unit that has entered week 13 by allowing the second fewest fantasy football points per game versus the quarterback. So they are arguably the best defense in the league against a really banged up Rams team. You have to start Stafford and Superflex. However, if you were in a situation where you needed to stream a QB, I'd be throwing names out the window. Like Stafford is not a good call this week for me. So there's other players I'd be starting over him in super flex leagues, especially one quarterback leagues, not so much.
Yeah, I had him as a sit last week, and he absolutely went off.
Yeah.
So tread carefully with sitting Matt Stafford. He can still sling it. And look, our producer came through and got the sits banner going. So
dun, 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 dun.
Just in time to go to the streams. All right, so my first stream is going to be. Well, actually, let's do a quiz real quick first. Hey, Mike, pop quiz, hot shot. Who was the tight end 10 in fantasy football last week?
Tight end 10 in fantasy football last week. I'm going to say maybe Cole. No, he didn't play. Taysom Hill.
I'll give you a hint. Look at the notes.
Brevin Jordan.
You got it. Exactly. He was tight end 10 last week, backing up Dalton Schultz for Houston. He'll be open more than the Houston wide receivers, and Stroud will need to go to him often. So look for Brevin Jordan to have a day that makes people remember that Brevin Jordan is a football player.
All right. I got a similar one for you, Hotshot. Pop quiz, Hotshot. Who was the tight end 5 last week?
Kellen Winslow.
You really dug deep there, didn't you? He
Tony
was
Gonzalez.
not. No, it was actually my streamer of the week. It was Harrison Bryant.
Oh, Harrison Bryant. I got it. Harrison Bryant.
Yeah, I'm definitely digging deep here. Joe Flacco likes his tight end, and he showed that on Sunday. It was Harrison Bryant, not David Njoku, who led the tight end room last week, and that is no joke. Bryant was the tight end 5 last week, going 5 for 49 and a tutty. Look for him to get some more looks this week as Flacco's twinkle in his eye, especially if Amari Cooper is not playing.
That leads me to look at a thing. Njoku last week had 6 targets. So he was still a volume play, but he only had 2 receptions. Not a good week for the Njoker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Harrison Bryant. FantasyCares.org, and everybody should be following Fantasy Cares on Twitter and on YouTube and watching the Fantasy Cares YouTube channel and donating through Fantasy Cares and all that stuff. They just gave away a Harrison Bryant jersey.
Well, that's just foreshadowing. He's going to be signing jerseys on the sideline after his big game on Sunday.
Maybe it was Jadeveon Clowney. It was somebody. They gave away a Browns jersey.
All right, who we streaming on defense this week?
All right, I'm gonna read directly from my notes. My defensive special team streamer is Green Bay versus. You heard it here first. Damn it.
Green Bay. Green Bizzle.
Versus N. The New York Giants. I knew that. I knew they were playing the Giants. That's why I'm streaming their defense everywhere that I don't have a defense that has eventually come out of the waiver wire and stuck on my team. The New York Giants are just really, really bad at football. Yeah, Tommy DeVito is starting to cook a little bit. There's Saquon's out there. There's talk of Darren Waller. I don't think he's going to play, but you know, it's not that the Giants don't try. It's just that they're not very good, and Green Bay has been playing pretty well. So I think that they're gonna stifle the New York Giants this week, and that, my friends, is Big Boned's Big Ball Call of the Week.
There it goes. So hopefully that'll inflate his balls 3 sizes bigger this week. Because you need the inflation. All right. So my streamer of the week is the Houston Texans versus the Jets. The Jets score less than a touchdown a game on average, and they also get Zach Wilson back. So even though the Texans are the 20th ranked defense in the league, I think they're still a good play this week in a streaming option for you folks against the Jets.
Do you know who practiced limited today?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Cal and Butte College and Chico legend Aaron fucking Rodgers. Let's go.
All right, man. So
Can't even believe it.
That's it. That's week 14, and we're getting, we're slimming her down since Thanksgiving. Things are looking good. It's been a great week. Hopefully everybody does well this week on their fantasy football stretch here. This is the last week before most of our playoffs hit. Brendan, do you want to tell everybody where you are and where they can find all your awesome stuff?
I sure do, Mike. I'm on Twitter at BigBonedFFB. It's right there. I'm on YouTube at BigBonedFFB. Check out my podcast, The Fantasy Burn. Join me on Monday for the Monday Meltdown live stream with special guests reviewing the weekend in football and shenanigans. And DynastyProsFootball.com /author/BigBoned. I have some Dynasty Dilemmas and some Debbie content up there. I just did a podcast in England. I think I told you that. And I wasn't in England, but the people doing the podcast were in England. And I got to talk a little bit of Debbie football and talk about Ibuka and Marvin Harrison Jr., who I wrote about on DynastyProsFootball.com, and Roma Dunze and Jalen McMillan, who I also wrote about on DynastyProsFootball.com. And there's a nice little piece about Cal running back Jaden Ott, who's now got some competition in the 2025 draft. Has the potential RB1 because apparently Travion Henderson is staying in school. And somebody pointed out that, he's making more money this year than Kyron Williams. So it's funny that we had this era in professional sports where college players would stay for 4 years. And then right around the late 80s, early 90s, players started coming out after their junior seasons. And it was thought for a long time that they weren't just physically or mentally prepared to play professional sports. And they maintained their amateur status in the NCAA and stuff like that. So you had that where all of a sudden it was this big thing. If a player was good enough, they were coming out their junior year. What we're seeing with the NILs is a reversal of that trend back to sticking around for 4 years, because you're with the transfer portal, you're basically a free agent. You can go to wherever. I mean, you enter the transfer portal and pick who's going to give you the most money, and you're going to be making more money than NFL players anyway. So just stick around for 4 years, party, have good times with your buds, go to bowl games. I mean, it's like the landscape is totally changing in college sports, and my Debbie team is going to suffer for it. Raheem Sanders was supposed to come out this year. Travion Henderson was supposed to come out this year. They're juniors, but guess what? They're gonna transfer, and well, Travion isn't gonna transfer, but they're like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would do that too, man. Look at the landscape of the NFL right now with running backs, especially like they're getting the brunt end of the stick here, and if they can make more money doing it in college, they're gonna be better off. So good on them for doing that stand. The
It
whole
sounds
Marvin
like you just
Harrison,
said the Brendan of the stick.
yeah. Oh well, sorry, the Brendan of the stick. But you know what? The thing that baffles me is the Marvin Harrison thing. Like, why would he want to stick around? You know, is he going to make more money in college than he would in the NFL at this stage?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
would. Eh?
he's probably going to be a top 5 pick. He's definitely going to be number one on a lot of rookie drafts. It's going to be him or Caleb,
Mm-hmm.
depending on league format and stuff like that. I know in my home league, the commish traded for the number one because he wants Marvin Harrison Jr. really badly, and I have the 2 and the 3, and I don't know what to do. Do I take Caleb and Drake May? How about Brock Bowers? Where do I do I zig like I did with George Pickens at the 1, or
I like Neighbors too. Like, he's looked incredible.
Malik Neighbors is fantastic, and Rome Odunze is like, if I wait too long for him, he's absolutely the second best wide receiver in the draft. Like, I might just wind up like letting Caleb fall to 4 and taking Odunze and Brock Bowers. So we'll find out in a future episode.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you guys have stuck with us, and we thank you for watching. Before I let Mike send us all home, I do want to say you've stuck with us this far, but I need to remind you, like this video, subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notified when this episode drops on Saturday, and comment in the comment section. I'm in there on Sunday morning doing start and sit updates and who's not playing because of injury and stuff like that, and share it around. Let's get Dynasty Pros and the YouTube channel some exposure. And other than that, send us home, Mike Greinberg.
All right, man. Well, you can find me on Twitter as well at Fantasy Football Canuck 99. All my written content at dynastypros.com. Yeah, man. It's been a great week. Hopefully, you and I advance in the fishbowl. Hopefully, you all have a great fantasy week and that you make your playoffs and that hopefully you get your first round bye next week if that's your format. So have a great weekend, everybody. Let's go.
Hope you win.